I want to eat something that's real, that's the real thing that came from the earth, from the planet, that was actually intended for us to be eating, not out of a lab that's made of, I don't know what, made of chemicals, planted with chips.
So after this weird Bill Gates conspiracy, she goes on to say that she would rather starve to death than consume Impossible Whoppers or Impossible meat. Hey, what is going on, guys? So today we're going to be covering somebody very special, and her name is Ilana Braverman, who is a producer for a news network called Newsmax. Of all of the very intelligent claims made online against Impossible meat and, fake meat from anti-vegans, she may be winning the award for the most intelligent and well thought out and articulate claims and arguments against the Impossible Burger and vegan meats in general. Let's have a listen.
Yes. We should do a test. I'm going to say the Whopper, beef Whopper, and the plant-based Impossible Whopper blind taste test. I'm guessing both of you, neither one of you, well, over the course of several attempts, I'll bet you can't tell the difference in taste.
Oh, I can.
Eric, this isn't about taste. This isn't about taste, though. This isn't about taste. It's about knowing that you're eating something that was made in a lab.
You guys are producers. You guys are producers. You know you're not supposed to talk at the same time.
So we've all seen how triggered meat eaters can get online when it comes to fake meats. It seems like these kinds of salty meat eaters react to the, announcement of a new fake meat in the same way that vegans will react to factory farm footage. These kinds of meat eaters are just horrified. For some reason, these kinds of meat eaters are just so quick to cry about it. I mean, in this case, these two producers couldn't even contain themselves when all this dude said was, hey, these kinds of meat products, I promise you won't be able to tell the taste difference. They just absolutely lost their shit and couldn't help but talk simultaneously, even though they both know that that is not the professional way to act when doing something like this. And I'm not sure if you heard what the girl in the green said while they were both simultaneously going insane, but just have a listen.
This isn't about taste, it's about knowing that you're eating something.
She said something like, no, I could taste the difference. I can taste all the synthetic ingredients. Let me just say that as a past lover of Burger King and somebody who used to consume the real Whopper, I cannot personally tell the difference between the Impossible Whopper and the real Whopper, and people in my family who are not vegan and who still will consume these kinds of products also have told me that they cannot tell the difference. You can just tell she's one of those meat eaters that, if you were to give them something like 2 cookies and I knew they were both identical and they were both vegan, but I told her that one of them was not vegan and the other one was vegan, she would go insane about the non-vegan one tasting so good and then the vegan one tasting terrible when in reality, they're both the same. I've ran this experiment myself. I know vegans that have as well. And it's always these types of meat eaters that just don't want these things to taste good for some odd reason, who will convince themselves that 2 identical cookies taste different just because they don't want the vegan thing to taste good. It's quite hilarious. I highly recommend you try this experiment with someone close to you who exhibits such behavior. Buy 2 identical vegan cookies from a vegan bakery, tell the meat eater that one is vegan and one is not vegan, and watch their bullshit unfold.
No, that's not the point. I think the point is that this is made in a lab. It's Bill Gates has decided that all of us have to eat man-made meat. I want the real thing. I want it to come from the real source. It's not about the way it tastes.
So first of all, Bill Gates has not decided that you all have to eat man-made meat. I'm not even sure what this would look like. Secondly, whether something is made in a lab or not is not going to tell you whether it is good or bad for you. There are things made in a lab, like life-saving medication, that are clearly good for certain people. Whether something is natural or not is not going to tell you if it is healthy. Whether it yields positive health outcomes is what's going to tell you if it is healthy. And of course, Ilana provides no actual health outcome data or evidence supporting the claim that these lab-made burgers are unhealthy. I'm not saying they are healthy, but she has not substantiated the idea or the claim that these burgers are unhealthy. From this, it sounds like she hasn't even tried it. I mean, you got to be bullshitting if you're going to say that the Impossible Whopper barely tastes like the real thing or like slightly does. It tastes quite identical.
I want to eat something that's real, that's the real thing that came from the earth, from the planet, that was actually intended for us to be eating, not out of a lab that's made of, I don't know what, made of chemicals, planted with chips. I don't want to eat Bill Gates' fake meat. I don't. I'd rather eat.
Jesus Christ, guys, so much to unpack here. So first she says she wants the real thing that came from the earth. First of all of this has come from the earth. We didn't go to Mars or the moon to extract ingredients for the Impossible Whopper. Everything is from planet Earth. Now, possibly she means that she wants it to naturally come from the Earth, but if that's her reasoning, I mean, the animals she consumes are the product of artificial selection, and they are the product of artificial insemination, so they're not naturally just found here on the Earth. So it seems like she's not even living up to her standard, which we hear very often from these right-wing conservative people that are very anti-lab-grown meat or anti-mock meats. They always say, oh, like this is made in a lab. I want the real thing. I want the natural thing. When in reality, what they're consuming is not natural. She then goes on to say that the Impossible Whopper is made of I don't know what, as if you can't just look at the back of the packaging and see what's in it or look online. Very simple. And then the line that made this clip go semi-viral from her was, oh, there's chips in these burgers. She kind of implied that there are chips or maybe RFID chips that Bill Gates is implanting in these burgers. Do I really need to go into why this is a very dumb thing to say? Hopefully not. God tier intellect.
Eric, just the point is, I'd rather eat the real thing or nothing at all.
So after this weird Bill Gates conspiracy, she goes on to say that she would rather starve to death than consume Impossible Whoppers or Impossible meat. Imagine if she was stranded on an island and all she had to eat was Impossible meat. Imagine she literally was on the brink of death, someone offers her some fake meat, and she chooses to just die instead. I'm sure that would happen. I'm sure she's not just saying that to appeal to her right-wing audience or whatever. Oh, and last thing, let's just remember that all Eric was trying to get across was that they taste similar. And somehow we got to a point where a meat eater claimed that there are chips inside of the Impossible Whoppers and that she would rather starve to death than eat them. You really cannot make this shit up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed content like this where I react to insanity, you can click the link in the pinned comment and get early access to all of it and sign up to my Patreon. And if you don't know, I do have a book going over most, if not all, of the anti-vegan arguments you're going to hear online. So if you want that as well, that'll be in the pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Dude,
fuck off. I don't want anything to do with you. Don't ever speak to me again. You're a fucking piece of shit.
even vegans don't get your weird, stupid wannabe sense of irony here. Who's your audience? Nobody gets these dumb jokes. Dude,